let's talk about serial killers who still haven't been captured, and whether they are still alive or not is something most of us don't know. However, it is interesting to speculate that it's very likely some of them still are. I'm going to start first by talking about the Babysitter killer, also known as the Oakland County Child Killer. This killer remains unidentified, and what you are seeing here is police sketches believed to resemble the serial killer. Now it gets creepy rather quick if you don't know how he got his name, and it's because he would bathe each child before committing his crimes. This led the FBI to profile him as some sort of sick parent. There are 4 victims we know of that are connected to the serial killer. They are Jill Robinson, aged 12, Mark Stebbins, aged 12, Kristine Mihelich, aged 10, and Timothy King, aged 11. These children's lives are believed to be connected to the Babysitter killer, whose murders are believed to have taken place within a 10-year span. These 4, however, were all killed within 1 year of each other. I'm going to start with the murder victim Mark Stebbins. He was last seen on February 15, 1976 in the afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Mark's parents were divorced and he stayed with his mother. He came from a Roman Catholic family and was characterized as a good student, quiet, and a loner. Mark's last contact was with his mother, letting her know he was leaving the American Legion Hall to head home. By 11 p.m. that night, he never made it home, and his mother reported her son missing. Let's fast forward 4 days, and still nothing has been seen or heard. That is until 11:45 a.m. A businessman named Mark Battigamer left his office and was on his way to a drugstore until something caught his eye in the parking lot. He found what appeared to be a mannequin dressed in a blue jacket and jeans. As he approached it and got closer, he realized it was a lifeless body. Another person in this area stated that they did a walk with their dog in the morning on a 20-foot leash at 9:30 a.m. through the same parking lot, and they state they're confident that the body wasn't there, also stating they believe that their dog would have picked up on it. By this statement, and assuming these details are accurate, the body was dropped off within a 2-hour and 15-minute window. An autopsy team details that the body was washed, washing away any fingerprints. The next victim is Jill Robinson. All of these are awful, and Jill's is devastating when considering what led up to what was assumed to be the unthinkable by her mother. Carol Robinson, Jill's mother, was recently divorced with 3 daughters. Jill was the oldest of the girls, and her mother frequently got in arguments with her. Carol would have a regrettable night she would never forget after a dispute with her daughter Jill on December 22, 1976. Jill was asked to help with dinner that evening, and the request was refused. According to Carol, this was a heated debate that led Carol to telling her 12-year-old daughter to leave the house until she was ready to become a part of the family. Jill went to her room to dress herself and packed a blanket into a denim bag. As her mother had requested, Jill left the residence on her bike wearing an orange winter coat and a knitted cap. On this same night, Jill's father had called the police at 11:30 p.m. in an effort to find her. Jill was last seen alive by a family member near a hobby shop several blocks away from her mom's house. Jill's body was then found on the side of I-75, laying on her back, not bound, and fully clothed. A dark red ring was around her neck. It was evident the killer had brought her to the location to drop off her body. She took a shot to the face at close range by a shotgun. It was later determined she had been fed and cared for about 3 days. However, similar to Mark's body, Jill's was also washed and clean. This one is a head scratcher, as if the other ones weren't already. Let me explain. Kristine went missing 7 days after Jill's body was located. Her disappearance occurred after she was bored and asked her mom if she could go buy a magazine at a local 7-Eleven store. Her mother, Deborah, gave in, stating Kristine had already shopped for her earlier, so she decided to let her. The 7-Eleven wasn't far from their residence. Kristine, at the young age of 10, was on her way, and was kidnapped in broad daylight. 30 minutes passed and Kristine's mother, Deborah, quickly became concerned and called the police. Unfortunately, hours turned into days, and days turned into weeks. Deborah went on the news to offer $17,000 in an effort for information for her missing daughter. Nothing came of this, and on January 22nd, 20 days later, her body would be found. Postal worker Jerome Wanzi was delivering mail 16 minutes away from Kristine's home when he recognized a body in the snow. Her body was packed in with arms crossed. Something peculiar was recognized by this. The snow around her body had been hand-packed around it from where the serial killer, in a bizarre effort, would try to make it appear as if she was in a comfortable position. Investigators note the way she was carried was with one arm under her head and the other one under her legs. The eyes had been closed shut, and Kristine was the victim of smothering. In addition to this, experts note that some of the investigation's findings were not accurate. Police have not released what Kristine was smothered by. One thing would be agreed on: her body and clothing, just like the rest, had been washed. In addition to this, there was another window that was likely missed. As the autopsy confirms, she was murdered within the last 24 hours. Kristine was alive for weeks up until this last day. Now, sadly, why no one knows exactly why she was kept alive, her family likes to think it is because of her positive spirit that allowed her to be around longer and that the captor enjoyed her company. The last victim considered to be directly tied to the babysitter's killings is Timothy King, although the speculation of numbers is higher. On March 16th, Timothy's parents went out of town to meet with a law firm client, believing their 11-year-old son would be fine on his own. The parents assumed they would be gone for just a few hours. At around 7:30 p.m., Timothy headed out of a local drugstore to get candy. Timothy borrowed 30 cents from his sister and grabbed his skateboard on his way out of the door to their home. Just a half hour later, after 8 p.m., Timothy would last be seen leaving through a rear entrance of the drugstore he had sought out to visit, with the exit leading to a shared parking lot to a supermarket. This is the last time he'd be seen alive. Something different would happen this time, though. There would be witnesses. The witnesses would describe the man they seen with Timothy, and police sketches would be made public. A few days passed during Timothy's disappearance when the family offer a reward, and Timothy's mother says they will have his favorite food, KFC, for when he returns home. And it's been a total of 4 days since Timothy's disappearance. His body would be found 300 feet south of 8 Mile Road by 2 teenagers driving. This location was 20 minutes away from his house. Similar to the rest of the victims, his body had been neatly placed as well. Timothy had his skateboard placed next to his body, with his clothing neatly pressed and washed. The autopsy revealed he had rope burns on his wrists and ankles. He was suffocated just 6 hours before he was found. In addition to this, the autopsy revealed that the murderer had fed him fried chicken before taking his life. I want to direct your attention to something strange. This investigation has been described as failed by many, including experts. Over the years, there have been several suspects. In more recent years, all 4 victims were found to have carried white dog hair on them and matching. Police point to this man as part of the crime, James Vincent Gunnels. Gunnels was 16 at the time of the murders, has an extensive history of property damage, and also has a hair link to the same dog. He was believed to have been used by the captor, both personally and as a lure to bring in the other kids. Although there is a DNA match, it is not enough to arrest Gunnels for. In fact, he was already in custody, and he was released shortly after the findings. It does continue on though. Police do not believe Gunnels did this himself, but may have helped. He made a reference to an associate named Chris Bush, a General Motors executive's son. Bush had taken his own life and the police arrived. This photo was found in his bedroom. The police reported that the photo resembles Mark Stebbins. A legitimate question, however, is did Chris Bush do this? In the house, bloody ropes were also discovered. This discovery was made in 1978, just 1 year after the murders. What makes this even more strange is that there was no gunshot residue found on Chris Bush. There was also no blood located around him. The entry wound was between his eyes. There were 4 shell casings located, and what I find to be even more bizarre is that he was neatly wrapped underneath his sheets. Whether Bush did this or not, I'm not sure, but I do suspect he played a part in this unless this was all framed. The victim's family did not find out about any of this evidence until a few years ago. There have been numerous suspects. The other one that sticks out is Arch Sloan. In 2013, they found DNA matching the male victim's hair with his of his own. Sloan failed a polygraph test when interviewed about this case. He is already serving a life sentence in connection to being a convicted pedophile. It should be noted that Chris Bush was also convicted of being the family's hope. A 2019 documentary called Children of the Snow will bring more exposure to this cold case. It's now been over 30 years, and this case still remains unsolved. Like and subscribe for more, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.